Hey everybody, Carl and Erynn here. Mandolin time, and we're going to sail away on the mandolin with Sail Away Ladies from J.P.Fraley, a great tune in the key of G. And we'll get Erynn to back us up on the old Martin there, and I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Sailed somewhere there. Thank you, Erynn. Beautiful backup.
My pleasure.
And let's just scoot on in here. We'll investigate a little bit of playing Sail Away Ladies from J.P.Fraley. And that's one of those tunes you can kind of ramble around, as I tended to do there a little bit. It kind of takes off on its own. So that's a good thing about a tune when you get started and just kind of wants to take off and float around there like sailing away. So the nice thing about this tune is we'll think about just the phrases are similar in each part, so you can kind of get a little confused if you're not careful. So we'll try to keep that straight. But first of all, let's look at the chords for a second. If we're just doing some open chords for a second, it's going to go from G for a whole measure, and then it goes to C in the middle of the next measure, to a D, a whole measure, and splits that measure D to G. Then you have measure G to C, and D, another whole measure and a little half, D to G. So let's look at open chords first. G to C, D to G, G, C chord, and you got that longer D, back to G. That's the first part. And a good thing to think about too when you're learning tunes and playing the backup and melody is great to be able to make up a chord chart, so you can make up your chord charts. Each little diagonal is like what they would call a measure. So you'd have like a G and a slash would be the whole measure, 4 beats. Pick strum if you're on a guitar or mandolin. And then you'd have the next measure would be G and C. You'd have 2 beats, a pick strum for G and a pick strum for C. So you'd have G, a diagonal, G, C. That'd be the start. Da 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 da, G and C, D, a diagonal, and D to a G, G and C. Then you got that D, a diagonal, and D to G. So think about learning to make up chord charts if you've never done that. So let's look at the chorus, the second part. It's going to be starts off on the so it goes G right to C, then you have that D again, D to a G, like the first part, to a C, and again it does that longer D, back to G, right? Okay, and then it's going to do you can kind of hear that longer. The end of the second part, it goes right to the G, so you'll hear so the second part is let's look at make sure I'm thinking of it correctly here. So the arpeggio starts there. Then the longer short here. Back to G, to C. The longer D, back to G, and the C. Then you got that measure of D back to G, and that phrase. So who knows what I played in the melody earlier, but it's one of those things that if you got a guitar backing you up, you let it float away and see where you go. That's what the fiddlers used to do and what they still do. You know, the tune plays itself sometimes. You know, maybe you're not playing the tune's playing you. Like writing songs and song writes you kind of thing. So anyway, here's the melody of the first part. We'll go through it kind of easy going. So it has a nice, let's just think about, first of all, a G arpeggio. You can't go wrong if you know your arpeggio. So let's just find a G on the third string with your third finger. And there's a nice octave, so it's good to know where your octave is. So let's do that note, a G for a second, 5th fret, 3rd string. And remember, we're counting our strings. The thickest string closest to your chin is 4, 3, 2, 1, G, D, A, E. So the D string, 3rd finger, 5th fret, and let's go ahead and go to the 2nd fret on the A string, which is B, and then we have the 5th fret right across the street from G, and then up to a little small slant G. So an arpeggio would be like you're playing the bugle, but it's a mandolin. So the start of this melody gets that 2nd and 5th fret on the 2nd string twice. You get a little, almost like you got a bugler calling people to come on out and play a tune. So 2, 5, 2, 5, twice at the end there. So then we just have that G chord on the high string. Then we're going to walk to C, and you can put some chords in there. So let's just do that a few times. So it starts, and it's coming in right on the first beat. So you count 1, 2, 3, go. 2, 5, 2, 5 twice. G chord. Walk to C, and we're going to copy that G chord on the middle strings right there. So let's do that one more time. That's the start of the first part. Sail away, ladies. J.P.Fraley in the key of G. So 1, 2, first phrase. Beautiful. So that's a G to a C. Now we're going to have a little bit longer D activity. So let's do that. And that's just kind of getting a D chord in the middle strings. Got the nice thing about the mandolin's tuning, you have a nice symmetrical tune. So 2 strings across from each other gives you a nice drony D. The thicker strings is the name of it there. And we're going to hit that open twice on the A string and get the 4th fret. So it's just that. Then we're going to have the A again. Then we're going up to a little bluesy note. And then we're getting to a nice little part of our arpeggio, the 5th fret and 2nd fret. So listen to that D phrase. And that's where it gets back to D. So D sounds, right chords, still a D, back to G. So let's do that much. That's halfway of the first part almost. So it's 1, 2, 3, go. Here's a D phrase. And something to notice too when you're pick down and up picking, if you're on a downbeat, say you're just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll be picking down toward the ground. You're thinking, your thick strings toward the thin strings. And in this case, it has like a 1 and 2. So it's like 1, 2, and 3, 4 rather. You're picking on the upbeat, 1, 2, and 3. So the end of the beat, if you were playing, say you're playing all, breaking the beats in half, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you start stressing 1, 2, and 3, 4. So you get that 1, 2, down, up, That's what happens in that the D phrase. Then you're back to da-da-dee-dee-doo. When it's tick-tocking, you got down, up, pick it down, up, picking. So here's that one more time. The whole first 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. G chord, walk to C. The D phrase with a syncopation. Up, down, up, bluesy, back to G. Then we get a nice thing. We have a nice little, you can just hit a nice G octave there. So we're getting good at just getting our G sound. Open 4th string with that 5th fret. Then you're going to just do a little climb. Again, upbeat. Just fall right down the scale. And we're going to get a nice, just like we had a G chord a minute ago, we're going to be on the low strings with the same shape, what I call a middle reach. So listen to that phrase there. The octave, scale right down to a nice middle reach, but it's a syncopated thing too. So you have, so it sounds like this. Wait, upbeat. So octave, upbeat. So you can hear that syncopation. Syncopated, and then you're on the downbeat. And then we get into our phrase, our ending phrase. It's going to be a D sound again. And I don't know if I was syncopating so much when I played the melody, because what happens, you can kind of go in and out of syncopation, kind of straighten it out, or syncopate, and they're both good. It's nice to mix it up. So I may have been doing that earlier in my demonstration. I just kind of tried to play whatever came to me. So listen to that whole first part and see if you can tell when I'm syncopating, and if I'm hitting an up picking, up picking, that should be syncopated parts of the upbeat. So here's the whole first part, one time through. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that one more time. And one thing I also noticed, you can do slides, of course, from like that 7th fret on any string is the same note as a thinner string if you got one. So that 3rd string, 7th fret, is the same as my A string. So when you have a melody that's an A, you can slide from a lower fret on the 3rd string. So that's what happens there. So you get a nice little slide. So the whole first part, one time through, one more time. J.P. does, he kind of gets to bounce a little more scaly. So he does a little more scaly there. And you're back to the same kind of stuff there. Same kind of stuff. Syncopate. Slide. That's the same both times. Okay, cool. So that's the first part. I'll do it one more time, then we'll go on to the second part. And you're in the same ballpark. And the nice thing about a lot of tunes, G tunes, have a lot of arpeggios and scales. That's kind of your two main things, where you jump from chord note to chord note, or you go every note up and down in a scale. Like a G scale. Or there's your arpeggio sound, and here's your scale. So a nice thing to practice is that both those arpeggio, you pivot there kind of thing, and the scale where you're doing all the notes. D. Start noticing in fiddle tunes and songs if it's going right up or down the scale, or if it's arpeggiating, skipping the notes, playing the chord tones in a melodic fashion. So this first part one more time, though, is like this. Sail away, ladies. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scaly this time. Then it kind of gets the same. Syncopate, slide. Beautiful. And then the next part, the nice thing, again, it goes lower and does arpeggios. So you can do a whole arpeggio or just do a less of it. That. Let's try to add a little whole arpeggio. Open 4, open 5, and then working that scale. And then you have the C middle reach. Let's just try that slow. A few times. That's the start of the second part. We'll add a note in there for fun. Why not? We're sailing away. Okay, that's the first phrase. Okay, you got the arpeggio, and you can do less or more. Scale, C chord. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to walk down to D and get scaly. So let's just try that scale phrase for D. Walking down first, 4, 2, open. Right up the scale to the 3rd fret, open. Then you get back in G territory. Do that much. That's the start of the second part. Arpeggio, C chord, right? D scale, and a G phrase. Do it again. You have a little ending phrase, and that's a shorter D. That's, if you're playing the chord, D goes back to G. So do that much again. Say I'm starting that again. Second part. C chord down to D. G phrase starting again. And that phrase can do a lot. It's just, I think it goes, and some of it might go. A lot of those phrases you can vary in a lot of ways. So the timing's the main thing. I think he goes up to bluesy note. And it keeps going. C chord. G phrase, arpeggio, C chord. So we play the whole thing one more time. And I think you find it's pretty easy. Take it slow. You don't have to go fast. A nice tune sounds good. Slow, medium, or fast. So start out slow and play it just nice and clear. And remember on your left hand, man, and keep a good pressure. Don't hurt yourself. Don't press too hard, but you find just the right amount of pressure. To, you know, when you're picking a string, say I'm picking that first string 3rd fret, you know, you can kind of find how much pressure you're putting a little bit on your thumb, enough just to get enough pressure. You don't want to over push, but get a good clear note, be right behind the fret. So practice just getting, making up a few notes and getting just a good clear tone with your pick, and you could think about upbeats. You know, think about stressing some upbeats there with some down up picking there. So here's both parts of Sail Away Lady one more time, and I'm gonna play it nice and slow there, and I hope you enjoy it. And try to make a chord chart there too. Now you can look at the chords of the tab and stuff and see how it goes too. I'll maybe put a little page, just a chord chart, see what it would look like if I did one. So 1, 2, 3, go. Second part. So you can really hear those syncopations, and experiment with getting them, playing them slow, and you can really get the feel of it better. And listen to JP. You know, you can go to YouTube, a lot of places, and just type in "Sail Away Ladies" J.P.Fraley, and Anna Dean will be there. They'd probably have it off the album. So check that out and listen to her nice guitar backup. But practice along with the backup, just doing the chords, you know, and making a chord chart. Mainly just taking it at an easy clip as you're sailing off into the horizon, a beautiful place, a beautiful day, and everything's going your way. So enjoy Sail Away Ladies, and keep picking that mandolin. It's a wonderful sound.